What's up, everybody? Once again, it is I, James, coming to you from the Nerdy Musings podcast studio. I am joined today by somebody I'm super excited to have on, another member of the InkPulp crew. I am collecting them all.
Yeah,
like
another
Pokemon.
piece of the collection, man.
I am close to 100%. Mr. Matteo Scalera is here with me today. How you doing, Matteo?
Good. How are you, man? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing good. And, I've been trying to collect all of you guys. I've had Eric and Jim on so far. You're beating Shawn on here. You beat Shawn to the show.
And I beat everyone in value. Speaking of, like, if we were Pokemon cards, of course, I'm the most valuable one. Yeah, I'm the Pikachu.
Most valuable and probably the power levels is just like up here, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Overpowered. One might say overpowered. Well, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your beginnings in art. I get the impression that you're, some people would say, classically trained in art. I may be wrong on that, but just looking at your work, I feel like you did some traditional training prior to getting into comics. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. I studied at the high school. It was an art college, basically. So
okay,
that's where I started, and then so that's where I learned the basic technique, especially watercoloring and all that stuff. And then after that, I studied in a school for comic books in Italy.
Gotcha.
It was a 3 years course. And and after a few years after I finished that school, that's where I started doing it professionally.
Nice. And where was that school located?
Oh, in Parma, here in my. Oh, are you talking about the comic book school?
Yeah, the comic book school.
Oh yeah, that was Milan.
Oh,
it's
okay.
like an hour and 30 minutes drive from here, so not that bad.
So you're in Italy, correct?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Yeah. So they actually had a school for comics over there. Is that something like that's been around for a long time? Like here, all they ever had was like the Joe Kubert school.
Yeah. That's every time I tell people that I do. I was attending a comic book school in the States. They're always like surprised. Oh, there's a comic book school. There's in Italy. There's a lot of comic book schools.
Oh, that's awesome.
There's a lot of people that want to be comic book artists, and therefore there's a lot of schools that are. The school that I attended, they have one in Milan, so in the north, and one in Palermo, Sicily, so the extreme south of Italy. And then there's another school called the International, what's this? International School of Comics or something like that.
Okay.
And they have like 7 or 8 schools, all in the whole territory. And I used to teach in one of those.
Oh wow!
So yeah, and plus courses and all that stuff. So there's a lot of schools. If you want to learn how to do comic books, there's a lot of chances in Italy. We have a huge culture for comic books.
So, did the love of comic books strike you early in your life? Like when you were into art, was that kind of the direction you were leaning in from the beginning?
Yeah, definitely. Like I started being fascinated by comic books at a really young age. I would say before I was 10 years old, probably. I was already enjoying comic books. And it was funny because the other day I was listening to the episode you did with Brett Bean.
Oh yeah.
And you both were telling the story, a similar story when you were little, that you had to hide from your parents. I don't remember if it was all the comics or some of the comics.
For him, it sounded like a lot more than me, but yeah, for me, it was they wouldn't let me get Spawn because it was demonic.
You had Spawn. That's right. For me, I mean, I didn't grow up like Catholic or anything, but for me, it was I don't know if you're familiar with the character Dylan Dog.
Oh yeah,
it's a very popular. I think Dark Horse published it in some issues in the States, but it's basically horror, and there's also sex. Basically, the main guy, Dylan Dog, is an investigator. Is a horror private investigator. So basically, in every episode, he has a new case to study, and every time his client is a sexy girl, and inevitably he ends up having sex with her. And so he has sex with a different girl in every issue. And I let you imagine it's more than 500 issues now. So, this guy had a lot of sex.
Seeing your origin story, Matteo.
Yeah, exactly.
The formulation of your character.
Yeah.
Dylan Dog started it all.
Yeah. So my parents were fine with me. I grew up reading manga, US comic books, Italian books, and they were fine with any of those, but Dylan Dog had to be really careful. Like, they knew I was reading it, but they never even thought about opening one and see what it was about. And then I remember one day I left one in the toilet because I used to read when I was on the toilet. Right. So I had a pile of books there, and my father, just out of curiosity, just grabbed one of the Dylan Dogs, and he saw what it was about. And there's, blood and everything, just killing and stuff. And it was like, I still remember that moment. He came out of the toilet. It was like, so do you read this stuff? You shouldn't be reading this stuff. And he was pretty pissed.
Yeah, I bet. Didn't realize what you were getting into. Did you have a lot of the same American comics over there at that time, or was it a select, a pared down version of what we have here in the States? Were you getting, I'm assuming like Spider-Man and like the main Marvel and DC probably were prominent.
Yeah. Okay. We had the main Marvel, and especially Marvel. DC, it was harder. Like, the distribution for DC wasn't that great in general. But Marvel was always handled by Panini Comics, which is a really big publisher. They published all around Europe as well. And they're really good at what they do. So generally speaking, they've always had the exclusive with Marvel products. So Marvel stuff, we always had a lot of stuff. I think DC, we had Batman, only the main things, if I remember correctly. But Marvel, we had Spider-Man, Captain America, all the X-Men, X-Force, X-Factors, all that stuff, we had it. Yeah, definitely.
So where did you find your eye gravitating? Like, what artists and what books were you the most interested in? What was young Matteo, other than the dirty Dylan Dog, like what were you into as far as mainstream superhero type of comics?
Well, I mean, you could consider that I was born in 1982. Okay. So
same year as my wife.
Awesome. So I started reading, as I told you, around when I was 10 years old. Okay. So those were the early 90s. You were in the
prime 90s time.
So yeah, it was McFarlane.
Yep.
Liefeld, Jim Lee, all those guys.
Yeah.
And then all the Image stuff, especially Spawn, since you mentioned Spawn. And that stuff in general. And I remember that we didn't used to have Image books over in Italy. I mean, you had to buy that in the original comic book in English. You couldn't find the Italian version of it. But I remember Spawn specifically, and Spawn specifically, they had it translated in Italian as well.
Oh, nice.
It's super popular in Italy as well. Yeah.
So because I started collecting seriously probably around, like really seriously collecting probably a couple years before I started working at the comic shop that McFarlane co-owned here where I live. So yeah, we were coming up on a lot of the same stuff and falling into all the trappings of the Image style and everything. But it was so exciting, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And to me, I remember, because normally comic books, especially back then, were sold in newsstands. So it wasn't always easy to get, since you mentioned collecting, it was really hard to collect back then if you were in Italy, unless you had a specific newsstand that would buy all the time and order every book. It was really hard to collect. So if you see I can't even call it a collection. It's a bunch of books, whatever I could find there. So sometimes they would skip an issue and I couldn't find it, So it was really hard to follow up. But I was, to be honest with you, in that era especially, I was really fascinating. You can easily imagine. I was mainly fascinated by the drawings and all that stuff.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I was the same way. I was never like too worried about the stories. Later on, you look back at some of the stuff, you're like, oh yeah, I see what people are saying. But for people who are into art, I think definitely the first thing we notice is the cover and then the great art inside, hopefully. So
definitely.
So with that, you're already drawing at that point when you're into comics. Are you dabbling?
Drawing is something that I've always loved to do.
So
I always had a fascination.
That preceded your getting into comics then.
Yeah. I remember it all started, it started from just drawing, loving to draw. Like I remember the exact moment when I was like, oh, I really love drawing. Like I remember I was like 4 or 5 more or less, and I remembered the moment. Like I was in preschool, and I remembered a specific moment, and it wasn't even me drawing. It was one of the other children that was there.
Oh, okay.
There was basically he had a small toy, and when he's trying to redraw it, and by looking at this drawing, I was like, oh my God. He was picking the right colors and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. So I remember me trying to do the same as he was doing.
Yeah.
And then from then on, I started, copying stuff that I would see that looked cool in my head. So after that, I remember drawing a lot. And then I remember drawing from cartoons or TV shows that I liked. Especially one that I think changed the whole game, which was it's a anime series called Saint Seiya.
Okay.
The Knights of the Zodiac. I don't know how it's translated in the States. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I'm not sure I've seen it.
It's basically a bunch of young kids like wearing armors and fighting, basically. But every single armor had a different design. Like every guy represented a constellation.
Oh, okay.
So, there was the Zodiac constellation. Yeah. So there was the Aries, the Taurus, the Taurus, the Scorpio.
Did they combine to form something?
Yeah. So
well, here
basically,
it was Voltron. And Voltron was what I was into. And this was, they would be the different lions, and then the lions would all form.
That was the robots.
I'm the arms, I'm the legs,
Yeah. No, in that case, no, they didn't combine with each other, but the armor, when they didn't wear the armor would compose the animal or the thing that the constellation represented. Nice. So for example, the Taurus constellation, so the armor, when the guy wasn't wearing the armor will represent a Taurus. Nice. And then it will call his own armor, so the armor will start and the pieces were attaching to his body. And every single armor had a different design. And I remember back then I would record the episodes on VHS and then slowly like rewinding and finding it and pausing on the right frame so that I could learn all the designs. So I remember back then when I was young, I could draw, it was like almost 200 or 250 characters. Yeah. I could draw every single armor, every single design. And I think that was a game changer for me because I learned how to memorize stuff as I see it, as quick as possible. And that's a really useful skill when later I became an actual, artist.
Yeah, it's funny because you were actually like, well, your classmate was actually drawing from figure reference, and then you're looking at the cartoon drawing from reference and building that, visual library in your head, which is really cool. It's funny you mentioned seeing the classmates drawing, because for me, there's two of my earliest memories of getting into art and realizing I loved art. One was watching my mom draw, because she was always very crafty and could do little cartoonings and different drawings, and she would draw my little teddy bear, my favorite teddy bear, when I was probably like 4 or 5 years old, and maybe younger, I don't know. But seeing her draw that and wondering like, how's she do that? Like, how can she make it look like just like the bear, And then the other was a friend, probably when I was like 12 or 13. He had done a really cool drawing, a Skeletor. And it was like to me, it was like, wow, he's like a pro level artist, like that good. And I want to be able to do that. So it's funny how we're starting in these early beginnings, the formulation for kind of what we want to become.
Oh yeah, definitely. It happens. Like, it happens in a second sometimes. It's just one thing that happens, it sparks something, and it defines your own destiny. I who knows if that didn't happen when I was 4, if I would still be an artist to this day. Who knows?
Yeah. So from there, like, you started probably taking it kind of seriously. You're doing the schooling. You end up going to an actual comic art school, and coming out of school, is that when you started like submitting your portfolio and looking to get work?
Yeah, to be honest with you, it didn't start immediately. Like, I was kind of, I don't know if you went straight. I don't know how it was for you. If you already knew what you wanted to do in life, so after school you jumped right away into
for me
working.
It was I did a variety of things, and I tried to find the thing that I wanted to do for a career, and then it took a branch where I could have never anticipated.
To me, it was like I knew that was my gift, like drawing and doing comic books. I already knew. But after I finished school, I was kind of scared. That taking the first step is like, the little bird that I have to decide, okay, I got to try and fly, but there's a fair chance I might just fall and die,
Yes.
So that was the first step was really hard for me to do. So I remember then I was procrastinating that moment in which I was like, I got to try and be a comic book artist. So I was kind of, wasting time doing like small jobs here and there as a waiter, and then I worked in a factory. I didn't want to spread my wings, if that makes sense. And then one day I just decided, you know what, let's just do it, And I remember that moment because I was pretty sad and depressed because I wasn't doing anything that was making me happy, especially because I knew I had the talent, and I knew that it was up to me to finally, put it into facts, into reality. And I was so frustrated. And I remember one day I would just work and then go home and play video games, and that's it. So, and I remember one day my mom was always really understanding and supporting, but she had enough. And one day I remember she entered the room. I was playing as usual in video games, and she was like, dude, I'm just done with you. So if you decide this is your destiny and you just want to do shitty jobs, then you find yourself a house, you pay a rent, and just get out of here, because I don't want to see you here playing video games all day. And just whenever you come back, even if you're working, whenever you're back home, you just spend all your time playing stupid video games. I don't want to see you like that. So at least, find another place to do that. And that shook me. And that's where I started doing shows, like started going with showing my portfolio around and stuff like that.
So are there a lot of comic shows and in conventions and things in Italy where you could do that back then? Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of shows. Yeah. And I remember that the actual moment when it all changed was a few months after I had decided that I wanted to be a comic book artist. There was a contest, a comic book contest.
Yeah.
And I remember it was basically a show, and attached to the show there was a contest for comic book creators and illustrators. So there was 2 categories you could participate in, and the price was really good, especially for interiors. You had to give them a short story, a five-page story, and the price was, back then, we're talking about 20 years ago, was like 1,500 euros, which is like, back then it was a good amount. It was like 300 euros per page, which is considered to be good in Italy, especially back then.
What's that?
I would say $330, but for Italy,
that's better than the current contest I just saw the other day. It's like $100 a page, 20-page story, $2,000.
Yeah, exactly. So it was good. It was good, and so good that a lot of professionals were participating to the contest as well, because they were actually paying better than a publisher.
Yeah.
So, and I remember putting all my energies in there and just creating this short little story that it was here in my head for a long time, actually. And I did the story. I still have some of the pages, some of the stuff. And I remember like a month after delivering those pages, I was in Spain, because I started basically buying flights and going to shows, even in Europe in general. So I was in Barcelona, and one night at around, I don't know, like 10 p.m., I got a call from Italy, and I pick up the phone, and it's the organizer from the contest, from the show and the contest, and he told me that I had won.
Wow.
And I remember right next to him, there was I don't know if you're familiar with Sergio Toppi.
Oh, yes.
So back then, when he was alive, he was one of the judges
for
that contest. He was the main judge. So he passed me on the phone, and I started talking to him. He congratulated me, and he gave me some advice about storytelling and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, yeah, thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. I wasn't listening to anything. First of all, I was drunk. And then I was so excited that I finally had won. So I was like, yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot. And then I had to close the call because I was in Spain. So it was costing me an arm and a leg. And then that was the moment where I decided, okay, this is the moment, like, this is when I become a comic book artist. And since then, I had no doubt in my mind. Like,
never look back.
No, never look back. And I remember even at first, when I wasn't getting good gigs, I wasn't worried, because I was like, it's the good gigs will come whenever. Even 10 years from now, I don't care. Like, I am a comic book artist now, so who cares? And
you're a professional at that point. Won the contest, get paid, and I mean, so from there, what was the trajectory after that? Did you find that winning the contest kind of helped facilitate some opportunities from you after that, or did it take a little while?
No, not really. It facilitated it in my head, meaning that I felt legitimate in that moment.
Gotcha.
That exact moment, I was like, as I told you, I am a comic book artist. It doesn't matter what you think, what anybody else thinks.
Right.
I am a comic book artist. So I started pursuing that, like, without any doubt, and investing all of my money and energies into becoming a comic book artist. So after that, I did a small independent book in Italy. And in the meantime, I remember I was participating I was in, how do you call them? Message boards?
Yes.
Forums. A forum, an Italian forum called Graphite.
Okay.
It was all comic books people. A lot of professionals were there as well.
We had one
And
here
I
called
remember.
Digital Webbing was the name of the one here. And this
Okay.
was all like all the guys like Ryan Otley, all the
Yeah.
Ryans, Ryan Stegman, like a
Yeah.
lot of people who are, over a decade in, veterans or more now.
Yeah.
They were all hanging out on those forums here.
Yeah. Same in the one that I was in. Like a lot of art people that are now professional comic book artists. They were all there, and some of them are still my friends to this day. And I remember I made friends with one of them who was already a professional. It was mainly known as a colorist, but is a great artist too. And he had an offer from a U.S. writer to do an image book. Back then, we're talking about 2005, 2006.
Okay.
So definitely not the golden era
Not
of
the
Image
prime
Comics.
Image years, yeah.
So my friend couldn't do it. This writer Howard Shawn needed an artist, and my friend couldn't do it. So he proposed me instead. The guy liked my stuff, and that's when I decided. So basically, aside from a first independent project in Italy, I started right away publishing with Image.
Okay.
And the book was called Hyperkinetic, and definitely not a successful book. I did zero money, but it helped me, start, having something to show to publishers to prove that I could do a book.
Yeah. So at what point, because you were traveling a lot, going to conventions, over there, at what point did you make your way over to the U.S. to start attending conventions?
Well, actually, when that Hyperkinetic was published, the first issue came out in 2007, 2008. And I remember it came out in July, right like the week before San Diego.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, you know what? Like the writer Howard Shawn had a table in, I don't remember if it was it was either the artist alley or in the Image booth. He had a small table, and he asked me, "Hey, do you want to come?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll go." I couldn't speak English or anything, and I just went, and it was definitely a humbling experience.
Okay.
But it all started from there. The next year I did a couple of shows in the States, and then I started getting new gigs and all that stuff. So it all started there. Yeah.
What part of the experience provided the humility for you? What you said, it was a humbling experience. How did you?
Well, first of all, like I remember I was sitting right next to Hotley. Speaking of Ryan Otley, he was right next to me, and it was the time where Invincible was starting to get really popular,
really picking up steam. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I remember I didn't know anything about commissions. I didn't know about sketchbooks and all that stuff. So I just went there with a pile of some paper and my pencils and a few other things, not knowing what to expect. I went there with no expectation other than in my head, I was like, okay, so the book has just come out. We're gonna sell a fuck, sorry. Can I say fuck ton of books?
Yeah.
Okay. And I remember we didn't even sell 20 books. I think we sold like 12 or something.
Right.
In 4 days. It was like the worst. Like it was embarrassing. The only thing is that a guy asked for a pencil drawing. So I did that, and I got like, I don't know, 20 or 30 bucks for it.
Yeah.
But again, it was humbling, but I came back with a big baggage of new information. So the first thing I did, I got to do a sketchbook. So I collected all the stuff that I had. I added some new pieces, and I printed my own sketchbook in Italy, and I started doing shows in Italy and trying to sell that. And then I started doing commissions that back then, especially in Italy, were not so popular. Like people were expecting like a free sketch
Oh, so it's
inside of a
different.
book.
Different
Yeah.
than the cons over here then. So when you
Yeah.
came over here, especially, San Diego's like the pinnacle of Comic Cons here in the US,
Yeah.
you saw it's a little, the fan expectations and things is a little different, and gave you some ideas to go back home
Yeah.
with. But then people there, it's a little different. More free sketches are more common, and
Yeah.
okay,
Especially back
interesting.
then. Now the things have changed. So
Yeah.
now the commissions and all that stuff are getting more popular, and people are getting used to, to that. So they know that if they see an artist, there's a fair chance that they'll ask for money in exchange
Yeah.
for a drawing. There's still it's still difference in France probably.
Okay.
But generally speaking, yeah, people are getting used, have been getting used over the past 10, 15 years to commissions as well in Europe. But yeah, and also humbling because I realized my English sucks, so I gotta improve. So that was another thing. So yeah, again, it was humbling in the moment, and I remember being really sad when I came back.
Right.
But then I remember after a few days of recovery, I remember a lot of new energy, coming in.
Right. Now, is that when you met Eric the first time?
That was when I met Eric. I was a huge fan. So
Okay.
I remember day one, I went immediately and find his booth, and I gave him the issue number 1 of Hyperkinetic, the book that I did. And I bought, back then he was selling his I don't know if you remember that, but he did a thing, a mini series, Iron Man mini series, Enter the Mandarin.
Oh yeah, yeah, I remember.
And it was like a 6 issues miniseries, and he had printed like an independent, like a sketchbook with all the pages with no dialogues nor anything. So I remember buying that and giving him a copy of my book. And then I remember, as I told you, I went back home and I immediately printed my sketchbook that I started selling at shows in Italy. And I remember back then, to convince people to encourage people to buy it, I would still do a free sketch. If you bought the book, I would do a free sketch for you. And then at the end of the show, I got like 30, 40 sketches that I had taken pictures of. So I would post pictures on my blog. Back then it was Blogspot.
Yes.
And I remember that Eric, once I posted those, Eric contacted me via email telling me, "Hey, dude, I'm seeing the sketches. They're beautiful. Like, the book that you gave me, it's nice, but these are way better. So I think you should explore more the stuff that you're doing in the sketches more than
cool.
the actual stuff that you're doing."
So he was giving you some feedback early on.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. And when I got my first gig with Marvel, he immediately talked about me to his art dealer, who's now my art dealer as well. And he told me, "Hey, you should contact that guy and work with him." And that's where it all started.
So that's where the friendship blossomed.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. Yeah. I was joking around with Eric when he was on, and he has his persona on the podcast, but there is a heart in there. That guy thinks really highly of you.
Yeah.
He spoke very highly of you and had nothing but good things to say. And a lot of artists I've had on who have interacted with you at conventions had very great things to say about you, taking a lot of time to review their portfolios and give them good critiques and everything. So, yeah, it's just cool to hear.
I always try to do that. Yeah.
It's
I
cool
remember
to hear
back
how
then.
that started, because it's like Eric gave back to you, and now you're giving back to others in the same way that he did to you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I do whenever I see something that's somebody, a young artist that's really promising. I try to keep in touch with them, or even, if there is a chance to create connections between that person and this other person, so maybe something can happen. I always try to do this. I think it's I think it's a culture that you have to cultivate. And in order
Yes.
to do that, the veterans have to do it and show it to the newer guys. So the newer guys will learn this behavior and then do it themselves when they're in the position to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Paying it forward, right?
Yeah. 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 Absolutely.
So what would you consider your quote unquote big break in comics? What was the gig you landed that you were like, whoa, this is I've reached the big time now?
Well, there's different moments, to be honest with you, but I think it was two moments mainly. It was so as I was finishing working on Hyperkinetic, I remember Marvel was doing this thing called the Chester Quest. So basically, they had CB Cebulski, who's back then was a talent scout for Marvel. Basically, what he did was for an entire year, he did all the shows in the world, basically. And you could meet him at shows and show him your portfolio, or you can even send him stuff through via email. There was a specific email address that they had created for this thing. And the goal was within a year they had to pick 12 new artists from all around the world to hire. And I was one of the 12 winners. So that was my first break, like real break,
Yeah.
because that got me to work on a Deadpool short story. And then after that, I started getting work on Deadpool, on various Deadpool titles, because back then it was like 2009, 2010. It was those years where they were trying to push Deadpool a lot.
Yeah.
I remember there were rumors about the Deadpool movie that it didn't happen. It happened like, 5 or 6 years later.
Yeah.
Where was the Deadpool movie?
Had to be like
2000.
20, is it like 2015, 2018, somewhere in that
2015.
range?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But back then in 2010, there was rumors about the Deadpool movie. The character was getting popular, so they started like 5 or 6 new titles. Deadpool team up,
Yes.
you name it. There was a lot of Deadpool title. So there was a lot of work for me, and that was the first real break into comics for me. And then a few years later, I definitely, when I did a Batman issue, I remember it was Batman 34. That was another moment in which I was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
Like this
I'm
is
drawing
this is
Batman.
big. Yeah, and specifically that Batman, I don't know for what reason, but it was that month bestseller.
Nice.
It sold like around 120,000 copies, which for those years were it
That's
was
big.
huge. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think definitely that was another important moment in my career.
Awesome. Well, I want to jump ahead to more current times. So, you've been working on Nemesis Forever with
Yep.
Mark Millar. Like that's or Miller. I know people overpronounce it, so I
Yeah.
think he prefers Miller, but a lot of people say Millar.
Yeah.
So, how did that connection come to be with Mark and in getting to work on that title?
He actually contacted me as I was working on Black Science the
Okay.
first time. And he absolutely wanted to work with me. So I told him, listen, as soon as I finish Black Science, we'll do something together. In the meantime, when that happened, he had already sold everything, his company to Netflix. So, and he had new Netflix properties. So I started, the first thing that I did with it was Space Bandits. Then I did another book that I really enjoyed, which was King of Spies.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Yeah, then that was a lot of fun. That project was a lot of fun. Then I did one of the issues of the Ambassadors, and then Nemesis Forever is the last book that I did with him. But over the past since 2019, I've been working with Mark like constantly.
That's
We
awesome.
really, we really work well together, and he's great to work with. So it's always fun, you know.
Now, those Nemesis pages, is that when you started working like one to one?
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Well, actually, that's the first time I started working one to one was on my book, because
okay.
my book I started working on it like around 3 years ago.
Okay.
It was one of those things that you do between jobs.
Yeah.
So I would do the first 20 pages, then, a gig, then back to the book and finish the first part. And then, so I was doing back and forth between that and gigs. And so that's where I started doing one to one. And for Nemesis, I was like, you know what? I'll keep doing it. I like this way of working. So yeah, definitely.
And just for the listeners and the viewers, one to one, what we're talking about is he's basically drawing the pages the size that they're going to be printed at, or
Yeah,
close to it, as opposed
exactly.
to how comic book artists traditionally draw on like 11 by 17, like draw bigger and it's reduced down. So what inspired the switch to working one to one?
To be honest with you, I generally speaking, like whenever I worked like 11 by 17, which is the biggest I've worked, like I
Yeah.
never worked bigger than that. And generally speaking, I work well in smaller size than big size. I'm not
Yeah.
one of those. There's some people that need like this huge pages to work on. I don't work well with that.
That's
I don't
always
have
been really
control of the, yeah,
hard for
I
me.
don't have control of the proportions and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And so I already started working smaller. Like for example, Black Science, which is the book, the biggest work of my career in terms of volume, because we're talking about more than 1,000 pages. That one was already on 11 by 14 piece of paper.
Hmm.
It was bigger it wasn't one to one, but it was a kind of in between an 11 by 17 and a one to one. Okay.
Right.
And already I saw an improvement working on those pages. And then I was like, you know what? Why don't I just, go one to one and see how it works? I'll use different tools and let's see what happens. Especially because I want to. So first of all is the thing that I mentioned, which is control of proportions. That's the biggest one. And then I wanted to do like for almost 16, 17 years, my main tool has always been the brush. And for once, I was like, basically, I started doing my layouts for covers and pages with just liners, how do
Okay.
you call
Like the
them?
multi-liner type,
Yeah,
like a micron.
the microns. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then I started spending more time on layouts, to the point where I ended up really liking my layouts, liking them so much that I didn't want to stop working on layouts. So my
Yeah.
layouts ended up being almost like ready to print. And sometimes after I finished the whole cover, I would still prefer the layouts to the actual cover.
Hmm.
And the layouts were all done real quick with microns, with whatever was on my table at the moment. And instead, the final page was always done with brush, with a different gesture and all this stuff. So I was like, why don't I? Because at the end of the day, I look at the layout, I look at my page, and most of the time, I prefer the layout. So
Yeah.
why don't I do just a book like this instead of like this?
Yeah.
And
It's funny because
yeah,
artists are always chasing that, what they captured in the thumbnail, and trying
yeah,
to, keep the essence of the thumbnail
yeah,
in the final thing, but going to all these different measures to get there. And you're like,
yeah,
well, if if I like the energy I've captured here, how can I take this and transfer it directly without losing that in the process, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And by doing that, again, I needed to use microns and all that stuff. And microns, there's big microns, but you don't have. In order to use microns, you have to work smaller, especially for the results that I had in my mind. That specific result that I wanted to obtain, I could not obtain it with working on a bigger scale. So I had to reduce as much as I could the size. So I ended up choosing the 1-to-1 for that specific reason, especially.
And I'm making an assumption you're working 100% traditional.
Yeah, all traditional.
Yeah, so even more impressive what you're doing, because when I look at your work, specifically like the Fourth Father stuff, like it has elements of it that looks like it was done digitally. And like the level of detail and things. So when I see this and I'm looking at it with my artistic eye, and I'm like, man, he's doing that all traditional and at a smaller size. Like, I would say you must have, your vision must still be good to be drawing that size.
Definitely.
And yeah, because that's like intimidating for most artists, like looking at getting that level of detail at the smaller size is it can be a daunting task, especially for us aging artists whose close vision is starting to go.
But to be fair, like I hear that a lot from people, but to me, it's way easier because the gestures are so short that I can control them really well. The big difference is that when you work really small, like let's say you're doing a face and the face is this big, like if you're working on a face and the face is this big, if you screw up a line, like let's say the nose line, and you move it by one, like it's a small bite to the left or to the right, the face is not going to change. On a smaller face, like moving it by a millimeter left or right, it completely changes that face. That's the only thing that I really pay attention to. But working small, it's never scared me, especially with microns and all that stuff. Maybe with a brush, because you have to be careful about keeping the right distance from the sheet. But with a micron, I had perfect control, so it's really not scary for me. It's really liberating.
That's awesome. Well, the work is beautiful, man. And
thanks, man.
I threw out the name of your creator-owned title, The Fourth Father. We have been keeping everybody waiting this whole time. We have to talk about your project. It's going to be going live on Kickstarter soon. So
yeah.
Let's tell everybody about The Fourth Father.
Yeah, it's the plan is for the campaign to be activated in March 17th. We'll see if we can manage to have everything ready by then. And it's it's a 190 pages story that started. I had a basic core of the story in my head. I've been having it for years and years and years, but never had found the time to develop it. And then in early in January 2021, that's when I found out I was gonna be a father.
Okay.
And what happens is, because for mothers, they had the whole 9 months to get to somehow meet this creature because it's inside of them. And for the father, it's just a bunch of questions with no answer, because you don't know this guy. The first time you're gonna get to know them is when they come out. There's no other chance to meet them. And so you have basically 9 months of constant questions of, which kind of father am I gonna be? If this happens, what am I gonna do? If this happens, and what if my son or daughter grows up to be this or that? What should I tell them? Should I tell them about myself, all the bad stuff that I did as well, or that will encourage them to do the same? It's a bunch of questions. And then all of a sudden I start seeing that these questions were perfect for my story, and they started shaping up the story. So from a small core of a story, it became a whole thing. And it basically became a reflection about fatherhood. with no answers, because there's never a real answer. Like the answer happens for a father, it happens in the moment. You know, you never know until the moment happens. So, and so yeah, it's a story. I always describe it this way. It's a family drama with a touch of a superhero, basically. And yeah, the book is finished. I literally finished the last page today. So for people that decided to back it up on the during the campaign, the book is already done. So it's gonna happen, unless something happened to me physically.
Yeah, but, we don't have to wait 2 years after we back it for it to come out.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. And also what we're trying to do with Shawn, Crystal, my partner in crime, is we're trying to have a distributor for Europe as well. Well, we're not trying, we're succeeding in having a distributor in Europe as well, because one of the main problems when you do campaigns in the States is for European backers, the shipping costs and the tariffs. And another thing,
the tariffs add another layer.
Yeah, because the tariff, for example, in Italy, when you buy something from the States, you basically have to pay like 20 or 25% of not only on the value of the products inside the box, but included shipping. So you had to add the value of the item plus shipping, and then you have to pay 25% out of that amount of money. So we're trying to solve that problem with having a European distributor as well, so people can be happy, And yeah, I'm super excited. I'm learning a lot because we're in contact with the printer, with the distributors, with, everybody, basically. A designer for a certain thing, a designer for another thing, a translator that translates my dialogues, and a letterer that's lettering all the chapters. So it's fun. It's a lot of work. I'm super tired. I can't wait for this whole thing to be over, but it's at the end of the tunnel, I'll come out of the tunnel with a lot of new stuff that I've learned.
Born anew. You will be born anew and have a lot more experience under your belt. And you said this is something you've been chipping away at in between projects for quite some time now.
Yeah, it's been, I think 3 years now. And at first, my idea was, you know what? I'm not going to have a deadline because the book is done when the book is done. Yeah. And then when I was becoming to get closer to the finish line, I had done the first 3 issues. It's 5 issues, but 5 big issues.
Graphic novel style, you're going to
graphic novel style. Yeah. I don't even call them issues. They're chapters, basically. The first one is 38 pages, that 34, 42, and 42. And when I finished the issue number 3, chapter number 3, I was like, okay, I got to find something that gives me a deadline. So I'm going to Kickstarter it, and I'm going to decide, okay, this is going to be the date where everything is going to be done by. And that put, as we say in Italy, pepper under my ass and encouraged me to just work on it.
Yeah.
And so
did working with Mark influence or help inform how you were writing the book? Did you learn things from working with him that you've applied to your own writing?
Not really, because Mark and I are really, really different writers.
Okay.
Although I'm not I am a writer in this case, but I'm by trade, I'm not a writer.
That's what I was interested in, how you came to creating your own idea, because artists, we think a lot in pictures and scenes and things in our head, but that's a form of writing too. Do you see
definitely.
Do you see the idea for certain key moments and then fill in the in-between parts? Is that kind of your process, or how do you approach it?
Yeah, I approach it basically in key moments. I start from big, and then I start dividing internally. So I have the starting point and the ending point. And then I decided, okay, if I started like imagining the story as if it was a movie. So I'm starting thinking, okay, what are the main moments of this movie? It's when character decides to go there. Okay, so this is the decision. So this is gonna be one of the main points. And then where character C dies. Okay, this is gonna be a big moment as well. So once I found the moments and I kind of understand what I need, how much space I need in between moments. I know how many pages slash issues the story's gonna be
Right.
is gonna need, and then I'm starting to work in between moments.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm always curious about that. Like artists who write, like the process seems to vary, but it kind of is always something similar to that, I think, in the people that I've asked. So this Kickstarter is going to be, the plan is live in the middle of March, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And I'm assuming there's going to be all sorts of different tiers, different
Yeah.
levels.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
are you gonna have a like a all digital version, physical version, all the different things?
Let me tell you exactly. I have it here. So, okay. So, yeah, as you said, we're gonna have the digital version. So you'll have the whole collected book, 190 pages. Overall, is 200 with all the chapter covers and everything. And then we're gonna have like the main product, the main item is gonna be the TPB softcover collected edition. So it's gonna be all in one book, 200 pages. Uh, Basically, aside from the digital one, all the tiers are gonna include this book inside. So
Okay.
whoever backs it up is gonna have this book. Uh, then we're gonna have the artist edition, which is like the oversized hardcover, super nice.
The one that I always buy. This is the one I always get.
And it's made. I selected a specific paper that really looks like the paper that I work on, so it's slightly rough. It has a tooth to it.
Nice.
It's a slightly yellower than the one I use, but the one I use is pretty yellowish, like ivory yellowish. And basically, it's what you get there is the whole scan of the page. So it's 11. The actual paper is 11 by 14. So the book is gonna be 11 by 14, and you're gonna have the whole thing with sometimes if I'm having fun, I keep drawing and going outside the gutter, so you'll see other drawings and other stuff
Extra
around the page.
goodies.
Yeah, and for the first, we have an early bird offer for that. So this tier is gonna be the TPB and the artist edition, because the artist edition doesn't have dialogues in it.
Yeah.
So I still want people to read the story. So
Yeah,
you're
for
gonna
sure.
get the TPB as well. Basically, if you buy that, you're gonna get the TPB for free if you made the math with the prices
Right.
and all that stuff. And the early bird offer for this one is gonna include a pencil study for free in the together with the books. So I have, as I was working on the book, I collected a bunch, like a pile this big of just pencil studies, like quick ones sometimes. If I sometimes I feel too constricted by the panel shape, or especially now that I work one-on-one, one-to-one, sometimes the panels are so small and I feel too constricted. So I go on a bigger piece of paper and just draw it whatever size I'm imagining the image to be, and then I'm gonna photocopy it in a smaller size and use a light box to put it there the right size that I needed for the book. But along those 3 years, I collected a bunch of these studies. So for the first, I think in between 50 and 100 backers, they're gonna get one of those random studies.
I'm gonna set my reminder right now, because I want to be within that group of people that gets those. I know those ones are gonna go quick for sure.
And yeah, well, also we're gonna have the retailer option. So if you're a retailer, you can buy like either 10 TPBs, or we'll have the retailer plus tier, which is 10 TPBs and 5 artist editions. And then we have the special one, which is it's limited to 4. Basically, it's the artist edition comes in blank cover, and I'm gonna personalize the cover. I'm gonna do a painted cover on the front, basically.
That's gonna be the big baller tier.
Yeah,
I would have to trade you one of these Invincible original art pages I'm looking at on my wall over here to be able to afford that one.
So that's gonna be cool, limited to 4. Like, I didn't know how many I wanted to do, and then I was like, it's the 4th father after all, so it's gonna be limited to 4. We'll see with the logistics of it how to do it, because my 2 distributors are gonna be Shawn in the States and then another one in France. So basically the printer is gonna have 2 separate shipments. So I don't know where I want the books to be, because I have to physically go there and grab them. And then we have a lot of add-ons. You can have a personalized sketch inside the books if you want. What else? You can have there's also an InkPulp bundle, like a mini print set. So it's gonna be a mini print by me, one by Shawn, one by Eric, and one by Jim. Cool. And then we're planning on having an InkPulp advanced review. So basically, what we do with our Patreon, if you're a Patreon member for InkPulp, you can pay extra and get a 30 minutes review that goes on our Patreon.
Oh, cool.
This advanced review is going to be a 1-hour review, and you're going to be on the show. So basically 30 minutes is going to be a conversation with us. And the other 30 minutes, we're going into the weeds of your pages, and we'll give you a portfolio review. But you'll get to be on the show as well.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah. Another tempting tier to support. I love it. Well, you mentioned Shawn a couple of times. So as we wrap up, I had been meaning to ask you. I asked how you got connected with Eric, but as we reach the end here, I want to talk about how you met Shawn and how you developed your friendship with him and became connected, and all developed this awesome InkPulp crew that so many of us love.
Yeah, it was through mutual friends. If I remember correctly, it was Rick Remender.
Okay.
It was the writer for Black Science.
Awesome writer,
Yeah, amazing writer. And I think we had dinner with Shawn. We got introduced to each other at a show for sure. And I remember we made fun of this moment last year during the InkPulp podcast, because one of the first times we met, we went to a dinner together. And back then, I was still new to the U.S. culture, so there's a lot of stuff that I didn't know. And one of the things that you have that's different from Italy is that when you sit down at a restaurant, the waiter comes immediately and asks you for drinks first.
Right.
And then they come back for food after the drinks have been served. In Italy, they just give you like 5 minutes to read the menu, and then they come over, they ask you for food first and then drinks, all at one order.
Okay.
And then, they go out on their way. And I didn't know back then. And so the waiter comes over, and I immediately start ordering food. And Shawn was not expecting, and also another thing by Shawn is that whenever he sits down at the table for dinner, he gets super overly excited. Like
I've heard these stories.
God. Yeah. So back then, he didn't know that I was new to this counterculture, so that my thing, why my action came from ignorance, not because I
Right.
wanted to get rid of the dinner
Right.
to go away. And I enjoy my dinner as much as he does. I
Right.
just didn't know. And he got immediately like defensive. Was like, dude, just take it easy, man. Just let's order drinks. What are you in a rush? And he was kind of
Yeah.
pissed at me. He doesn't remember this moment, but
Of course.
I was like, oh, this fucking asshole. Like, I didn't know. I tried to justify myself, and he was kind of pissed at me.
Yeah.
And it was one of the first experiences with him. But then, the rest of it is history,
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, Matteo, I've taken up a lot of your time today. It's been so much fun, though. And
thanks for having me, man.
I want to have you on again in the future because I'm a junkie for process stuff. So I feel like we need to do an episode where we just talk art and process and, I pick your brain
man.
about all the different things because you're a wealth of knowledge in that regard. And I'm so excited for everybody to see the Fourth Father. I'm excited to get it for myself. So why don't you let everybody know all the pertinent places that they should be following you so they can keep track of things and be on the lookout for the Kickstarter to launch?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things you can do is go to my website, matteoscalera.com, subscribe to my newsletter. And if you go now, you can even get the first 20 pages of Fourth Father. You can read the first 20 pages of Fourth Father for free. This is the physical book, which is the Fourth Father issue number 0.
Yeah.
If you catch me at the show, you can get a physical copy for free. So we're giving
Jealous.
away.
My buddy has a copy.
It's gonna be available on the campaign as well. If you
Awesome.
wanna buy it, it's an add-on for like $5 or so.
Perfect.
But I can keep a copy for you, and whenever we see each other, I give it to you.
There you go.
And so yeah, you go there, you get a link with a password, so you can get access to the digital version of this book, the first 20 pages. And if you like it, please go to Kickstarter. There's on the digital version, there's a link to the Kickstarter campaign. Otherwise, you go straight to the Kickstarter, search for my name, last name, or the Fourth Father, and please, support this project. It means a lot to me. So the more you guys are, the more it means to me. So it's great if you support this project. And then you can follow me on social media, on Instagram mainly. I'm just Matteo Scalera, or on Twitter or X is Scalera Matteo. So my last name and first name. Please support Fourth Father, man. It's I put a lot of energies and love in this book. So, whatever you can do to support, it'd be much appreciated.
100%. I'll be putting all the pertinent information in the description of the podcast, be sending everybody your way. You guys can go on the Kickstarter page right now and click the button to be notified when it launches, so you're there. Although I'm tempted to tell you guys not to do that, so I make sure I'm within that first group that can get that artist edition so it doesn't sell out. Matteo, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today, man.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Thanks a lot for having me, and thanks a lot for the support.
My pleasure. Well, hang out with me for a moment. Everybody listening, I encourage you. One of the easiest things you can do to support the podcast is hit the like button on YouTube or do a review on Apple Podcast. It's free to do. I do this out of passion and love for comics and art. I'm not looking to make money off of it or anything, but With that said, there is a Patreon if you want to go. There's a free option, Nerdy Musings on Patreon. I'm reworking it, though. Going to be kind of following the InkPulp guys' formula for their Patreon. They have it set up real nice where you can get some bonus content and things. So that's what we'll be doing here with the Nerdy Musings podcast as well. Again, encourage you to subscribe, like, share with a friend. I just want to get it in front of more people who love comics and art and the creators that produce it. And in the meantime, everybody, keep it nerdy.